Gran Turismo 7 has just had update 1.55, the first update of 2025, and it brings many unexpected changes. We've had yet another physics update. Now this is a small update which shouldn't make too much difference, but we have also had another force feedback update. So in this video I'm going to cover the new settings, test a few things out and tell you exactly what you need to do for your force feedback settings in Gran Turismo 7. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and straight up drive the new force feedback settings to see how they feel. And very recently I made a video comparing Gran Turismo 7 to Assetto Corsa Evo, where I took the Alpine A110 around Brands Hatch Indy Circuit to just see the difference between how they feel. And there was a huge difference between the force feedback. So let's go and try it out now. Okay, so driving from cockpit view, exactly how I drove it the last time. And just my general feelings is that I can feel a little bit more detail through the track. I think as you can get on the gas to slide the car a little bit, you feel a bit more aligning torque. I've got to say, first impressions are the force feedback improvements are definitely there. There's a few other cars I do want to try in Gran Turismo 7 which had really bad force feedback, and I'll get to them a little bit later in the video. But coming through here, although it doesn't weight up quite as heavily as it does in Assetto Corsa Evo, I can feel a little bit more detail in that compression at the bottom. And as we get on the gas to slide, we get a nice amount of opposite lock. The wheel really did want to open up with that slide there, clipping the grass there. Very, very nice. It gives me a good aligning force feedback feeling. I'm saying so far this is an improved update for Gran Turismo 7's force feedback. So what force feedback settings am I using and what would I recommend? Let's go and take a look at these now. So head from the pause menu, head over to settings and down to controller settings. Now the controversial topic that I will get to at the end of this video is controller steering sensitivity. I'm going to leave that one for later in the video. Heading further down, in fact to the very bottom, I'm going to first talk about force feedback sensitivity. I've been driving for a long time on force feedback sensitivity 10. I find it gives me the tightest of feelings, but I'm going to put it on 1 right now and drive. I'm going to explain what I think the differences are. So now with it on 1, I feel like there's almost a bit of a gap in the steering wheel. There's around the middle of the steering wheel, it's very light. I don't really get that strong alignment feeling. As I get more towards 10 to 15 degrees of steering motion, you then start to feel the wheel come heavy again. But in the middle, I'm just not feeling anything. It's almost like the ball joints on the car for the steering are just a little bit loose, a sloppy steering rack, or just like driving an old car pretty much. Just doesn't feel quite so connected. Like the feedback is still there when you slide, but I'm just not getting the aligning kind of centering feeling. So you can slide the car, it still is okay to drive. But right now I'm going to change the settings right back, head right down to the bottom. Force feedback sensitivity right back up to 10 and continue, and immediately I get much more tighter feeling around center, and that's even more exaggerated when you come to use some of the racing cars. Now you just get a lot more early encouragement to what the slide's doing. You just slide the car now, it's so good. Force feedback sensitivity, I highly recommend setting that to 10 no matter what wheel you're using. For force feedback max torque, this is where it becomes a little bit more user and equipment specific, and I've got my whiteboard here to show you exactly why that is. So I'm going to draw a bit of a graph for you, and then we've got the upper Y elements here, and across the bottom we've got time, and this is force. So when you're going through the corners, getting the force feedback from the curbs, all of this stuff, you're going to get basically different force feedback as you go through. So these are the force feedback curves, going through a curve, getting on the curb, and details like this. So we call this 10 as a number, and this is 0. When you have a strong force feedback steering wheel that can deliver maximum torque, more than the game can actually put out, let's call this number 10 for example, you will feel all of the detail of this force feedback curve. If you have a Logitech G29 for example that can only deliver 3 Newton meters of torque, then that is the maximum that your wheel can deliver. So you can feel the incremental motions in the lower part of the region, but as soon as you hit beyond what the wheel can deliver, you're only going to be feeling this amount of torque, and it'll just come down here and you'll feel a little bit of down and then just down here. So you're basically clipping, this is the term clipping, everything above what the wheel can deliver. You are not feeling the detail. All you are feeling is a constant 3 Newton meters of torque. You lose the feeling in all the curbs. Setting this torque down to a lower value, 3 or 4 maybe, what that will do, it will shrink the feedback curve down to be the details within. So if I was to redraw the force feedback profile with it on a lower setting, you'd be something like this. So you'd feel the details here. It'll be the exact same shape, but it would all be beneath the maximum torque that your wheel can deliver. So you will feel all of the detail from the road surface. The way you can really set this perfectly for the way you want to drive is to pick your favorite car and track combination and go through the settings. Just keep incrementally increasing them and driving the car a little bit, and just notice to see as soon as you get that flatness. So here in this, on setting 4, I can feel like the vibration as I'm loaded into the corner here. I can feel the bumps down the grass here, and it's not too bad. It's pretty good. So I can feel it start to slide in there. I've always got a little bit of a spike available. So now I'm going to up the setting, and just to see until let's go up 2 just to start to feel. Let's go up 3 in fact. I would do this incrementally, and I maybe come back down as well. So now I've got it on force feedback 8, and I'm looking to see where I start to lose detail. That's starting to feel a little bit flat. I'm starting to get a little bit of a rumble there. That's borderline too much for what I can feel through the wheel. A little bit of a wobble there, and then we can go even further just to see if we start to kill off all of the actual feeling that we can see. Now it's definitely getting heavier on the general motion of it, but it's just losing the headroom for those spikes, and I can just start to feel it. It just becomes a bit kind of buttery, like it doesn't have the grit and the detail in there. It just starts to almost fade and give up. Yeah, I'm not feeling it. So I think for me, the maximum that I could start to feel the detail was down at 7 maybe. I'm going to put it on 6. So for force feedback sensitivity, I'd highly recommend setting that to 10 and working with that. And then once you've set that to 10, I would highly recommend go through the torque, maximum torque setting, up until the point where you start to get you can feel the clipping, you feel just the numbness of the force feedback as soon as you get deep into the corner. And that will be a personal preference for you, the way you drive, and also the equipment you use. For what I've been using recently, it's been 5 or 6 on this Moser R5 wheelbase. I've got a full video on my channel explaining everything about the R5 wheelbase, how I get it working, and all of the details for the wheelbase settings specifically. I haven't changed those ones. If I was using a Logitech G29, which I've used many years in the past, I would set this to 4. Now I wanted to try this Honda, because this car had absolutely shocking force feedback before this update, and I want to see how it feels now. And I've got to say, almost immediately, it's 1,000 times better. I can now feel some aligning force, and with this car in the corners I can now feel the weight of the steering wheel through these tyres, which I really couldn't before. It almost felt like the force feedback was almost a bit backwards, and when the car slides, it encouraged me to catch the car as well. And this car now is a really engaging and fun car to drive. For me, the Honda RA is massively improved with the new force feedback in Gran Turismo 7. This is a huge step forward, I think. Now hopping into the Ferrari 458 Group 3 car, just to get a feel for these Group 3 cars with the new force feedback, and already I can feel it just so positive to drive, flowing through the first corner at Brands Hatch. It's absolutely fantastic. On the brakes into the hairpin, down to first gear, short shift to second for corner exit. A little bit of slide, the alignment forces are right there. I can feel what you need to be doing to catch that car slide. It feels really good. I've got to say, guys, this is an impressive force feedback update. Okay, moving on to probably the most controversial setting for steering wheel users in Gran Turismo 7, and this is controller sensitivity. Now, when you're using the analog stick or the directional buttons using an actual controller, physical controller, like a PS5 controller or PS4 controller, this is essentially the stick steering sensitivity. The lower the number, the more smooth your steering inputs are smoothed out, so you bang it straight to full lock and it will slowly move move the steering to full lock. On a higher sensitivity, you bang it straight to full lock and it would get to full lock a little bit quicker than it would do normally. On a wheel, in previous tests, I've never really been able to find any difference between them. So I'm going to start off with -2 on the sensitivity. I'm going to run a lap or two. I mean, it feels pretty responsive to me. I mean, straight away, the correlation to the wheel angle plus the on-screen wheel is exactly the same. Turning points feel about the same. The amount of lock to put on, the snap of steering to the catch a slide or something is exactly the same as well. Now, I'm purposely using a very responsive car to really try and highlight any differences that might exist. And I'm going to get the car so you can maybe just look back and compare steering wheel angles between my on-screen wheel and the in-game wheel, but I'm not seeing anything different at the moment. It feels responsive. After this lap, I'm going to set it to 10, the maximum absolute opposite end of the scale, to see if we have any measurable difference. And this Super Formula car is ridiculously responsive to drive, so if you're going to feel anything, you'll definitely feel the way this car drives. Now I'm going to pause it before we get to the line. Just straight up switch it from one extreme to the other, which should be a big change. I'm going to continue. So the steering angle appears the same. We'll learn more when we get through turn 1. I'm not sure. Still not sure yet. I think I'm steering the same amount. That's on-screen wheel matches the virtual wheel and my actual wheel pretty closely. Still pretty snappy when I'm turning through here. I can't feel the difference. Catching that slide there. I mean, carrying a bit too much speed into there. I can't feel a difference, guys. It's unrecognizable to me. Again, like before, I'm getting the same results from previous tests that I've done. Let me know what you think in the comments, guys. I'm always interested to hear your feedback. What do you think this setting does, and what setting do you think it should be? Okay, so that is my explanation and justification and reasoning as to what are the best settings for force feedback in Gran Turismo 7. If you have doubts over the controller sensitivity, then feel free to set them to whatever you want to be, because I don't think it has an effect. If it does have an effect, then feel free to set it to whatever you want it to be. If you had found this video useful, then make sure you smash that like button. Let me know in the comments below. If you would like to know more about my Moser wheelbase working on PS5, then check out the video on screen right now. That will tell you everything you need to know, and also my wheelbase settings that work in Gran Turismo 7.